Our reporter Natasha Phiri is at the Union Buildings ahead of the swearing in of new cabinet ministers. Let's go live to her now. Natasha, what's happening at the Union Buildings?
Thank you, Natasha. What's happening?
Well, a very good morning to you, Desiree, and of course to our SABC viewers. We're just currently waiting there for those ministers to actually be sworn in. We're told that they could be arriving any time from now. They're actually downstairs. As you can see, the security detail here behind me. If I'll just step out of the shot, and of course my colleague Uscalo Tlanula will show you what's actually going on. We're also currently waiting for the president, but at any time from now, we expect those ministers to actually arrive ahead of that swearing-in ceremony. Desiree, we saw that announcement being made by the president last night at 9 p.m, reshuffling his cabinet, and in his own words, basically saying that he had reshuffled, his cabinet, his national executive, to improve the capacity of government. Also announcing that the Ministry of Human Settlements and Water and Sanitation would be separated. And another notable change is that the Ministry of State Security would be done away with, and of course the political responsibility be placed with the office of the presidency. So I mean, Desiree, just judging from people's reactions via social media last night, some saying that this is a bizarre move. I mean, I could tell you that this is nothing new, as this has happened under the tenure of the former late President Nelson Mandela, where that cluster was actually under his ministry, and of course there was no minister that was designated but a deputy minister. Hence we saw there the appointment of Mr. Zizi Kodwa to that portfolio. Other notable changes there: the minister in the presidency, they are now being Umbondli Gungubele, who had once served as the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni. But Desiree, let me just I'll just attempt to actually walk with my colleague Sicelo Tlanula, if you could actually show you those visuals of the ministers actually coming in that are just about to be sworn in. Other notable changes that we saw yesterday was the appointment of Minister of Health, Mr. Joe Phatla, who's not new to actually that portfolio. In 1994, he was appointed as the MEC of Health in the province of Limpopo. Another notable appointment is the Minister of Finance, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, of course, which, that appointment has been met with criticism. Desiree, if I'll just show you those ministers walking in. You have the Minister of Finance. How are you feeling, sir?
Thank you very much. Good.
And you have the Minister of Finance just walking in there alongside the Minister within the presidency, Mr. Enoch Godongwana. As I was just saying, the appointment of Enoch Godongwana was actually met with criticism, Desiree, with the EFF, criticizing President Cyril Ramaphosa of that appointment. And in the EFF's own words, they had said that the appointment of Mr. Enoch Godongwana was proof that Ramaphosa is talking tough about corruption, but is not restoring anything in terms of doing away with corruption. We've also heard the UGM leader Bantu Holomisa actually criticizing his appointment. Of course, Mr. Godongwana was actually implicated in a 2012 Cayon Spring scandal, but later on, seemingly the courts had vindicated him of that. Another notable appointment that we saw there is the Deputy Minister, Ms. Thembi Nkadimeng, who was the SALGA chairperson, and of course, her appointment has really been lauded. Desiree, we continue to wait for a number of various ministers and deputy ministers that will be sworn in today. Of course, the acting Chief Justice, Mr. Raymond Zondo, will actually be presiding over that ceremony. We expect the president there to, give an opening address, and hopefully we'll be able to speak to the various ministers, newly appointed various ministers and deputy ministers, about their role and if they will be hitting the ground running more notably around this time the country is facing a pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and hopefully we'll speak to Mr. Joe Phatla. I mean, he briefed members of the media earlier on, was just talking about the country's vaccination campaigns. As the Department of Health is actually aiming to inoculate about 12 million South Africans as of next week, and just the key word there being planning. Desiree, also be interested to talk to Mr. Enoch Gondongwana, just also if he could talk to us about his plans, of how to recover the economy, seeing that the former finance minister Tito Mboweni has now, asked to be excused from his position. He's now taking over the reins. It'd be quite interesting to hear of his plans, of course. But as these ministers actually walk in, Desiree, I think it'll also be prudent enough for us to actually start going in and setting up. And of course, we will bring you the latest in regards to the swearing in of these ministers. Of course, to our SABC viewers, we implore you to stay tuned to SABC 404 for this much important and auspicious occasion. Back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Of course, let's just recap on the people who will be going through this process this afternoon. Just not much certainty about what happens when a minister is already in cabinet, but I imagine they still have to be sworn in for their new position. But in the presidency, Mondli Gungubele will be sworn in. Communications and digital technologies, Ms. Kombuzo Nchabeni. Defense and military veterans, Ms. Thandi Modise. Finance, the much talked about, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, and in health, Dr. Joe Phatla. Human settlements, Ms. Mamoloko Kubai. Public service and administration, Ms. Ayanda Dlodlo. Small business development, Ms. Delanda Beni Abrahams. Tourism, Ms. Lindiwe Sisulu, and water and sanitation, the outgoing Minister of Public Service and Administration, Mr. Senzo Mkhunu, as we show you live footage coming from inside. And with respect to deputy ministers, it will be in the presidency. Ms. Pinkike Kana will come in as a second deputy minister. Where did that footage go? And agriculture, rural development and land reform, Ms. Zoleka Kapa. Communications and digital technologies, Mr. Phili Mapulani. And cooperative governance and traditional affairs, Ms. Tembi Nkadimeng. You heard Natasha there say that this appointment has been lauded. I have my reservations. She was the head of SALGA and very effective at it. And there's a worry about the role and activities of ministers. I just worry that a person as effective as her can be rendered ineffective as a deputy minister. But just my thoughts. But cooperative governance and traditional affairs, Ms. Thembing Nkadimeng going in as a deputy minister. Health, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, and mineral resources and energy, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. Public service and administration, Dr. Chana Pilani Majake, and small business development, Mr. Stumo Dlamini. Now that's a name, a blast from the past. When was the last time you heard of Mr. Stumo Dlamini, the former leader of COSATU? Is now the Deputy Minister of Small Business Development. Transport, Ms. Sindisiwe Chikunga. Water and Sanitation, Mr. Keledi Magadzi. Of course, Mr. Keledi Magadzi also creating a lot of conversation on social media today with that court case that's currently underway in Limpopo. She was the MEC at the time of that event, and she had some unsavory things to say, and it's interesting now that she's being put in water and sanitation, the very case that is being fought at the courts today. And those are the people who will be going through the swearing in process this afternoon.